morning, everyone. It's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you have a great morning this morning. It is Tuesday morning, as always, a coffee kind of morning. Cheers, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Yesterday, I talked about a great American progressive rock band. They started as a hard edge band, turned progressive, then went into more art rock, and then they went to poppy, sappy stuff, and then they turned it around and became more progressive and harder edged. Talking about Styx, a great hidden gem of mine, and apparently others, because it has some great comments on that band, and I'm hoping this band will have the same type of comments. We're talking about Kansas, an American hard rock band formed in Topeka, Kansas, 1973. Hugely popular in the 70s and 80s. Big hits like Carry On Wayward Son and Dust in the Wind. But there's so much more to them than just those two big hits. 9 gold albums, 3 multi-platinum albums, 1 platinum studio album, 1 platinum live double album, which I have. A million-selling single in Dust in the Wind. Kansas was huge, again, as I said, in the 80s and 70s. Sold out arenas, stadiums throughout North America, Europe, and Japan. Carry On Wayward Son was the second most played U.S. track in classic rock radio in 1995, and then became the number 1 played track in 1997. Their music is, yes, progressive rock, art rock, hard rock, arena rock, combination of everything. And then they changed some direction later on, which I'll talk about. I don't have their debut album, self-titled Kansas. Here's a picture of it here, released in 74. I never see it in the wild. It's not available on Amazon, unfortunately. But again, you got progressive rock, boogie rock, hard rock on that one. I do have their second, Songs for America, 1975 release. I love that album cover. There's a young band there. Intense energy on this one. You got some shorter songs written by Steve Walsh. A lot of energy in those tracks. You've got the longer, more progressive songs written by Kerry Livgren. And the title track, Songs for America, is one of prog rock's hidden gems for sure. You got a symphonic rock on this one also. It's a great album, really good. Steve Walsh is on organ, Moog synthesizers and lead vocals. Kerry Livgren is on electric and rhythm guitar. Robbie Steinhardt is on violin and backing vocals and lead vocals. One of the greatest violinists at the time. Rich Williams, electric, acoustic, and rhythm guitars. Dave Hope on bass, and Phil Ihunard on drums. Awesome stuff. Mask, the third album, 1975 release. This is where the band's beginning to find themselves, finding what sound they want to have in their band. More tight melodies, great instrumentals on this one. It would lead into 2 of their biggest albums. This one would, and would cement them as a progressive rock band for sure. Robbie Steinhardt's violin work on this and most of their albums is some of the best compared to other progressive rock violinists of the time. This is a good one. It Takes a Woman's Love to Make a Man, 2 Cents Worth, Icarus, Born on Wings of Steel, All the World, Child of Innocence Is You, Mysteries and Mayhem, and The Pinnacle. It's a great album. Great album. Love it. Then you get into 2 of their biggest albums. So between Mask and these next 2, I think they're some of their best. This is Leftoverture. I love that album cover, first off. I could stare at that for days. 4th album by the band, 1976 release. Their highest selling album, 5 times platinum in the U.S. Kerry Livgren wrote most of the tracks, as Steve Walsh had some writing blocks going on, and he could only co-wrote about 3 songs on this one. It was recorded in a swamp in Louisiana, called a country in Bogalusa in Louisiana, right in the middle of a swamp apparently. So they'd walk out after recording, there'd be gators all over the place, mosquitoes that could carry you away, armadillos would run into the studio. That's just what happened back in the day. And I remember Leonard Skinner talking about that same type of thing. They had a swamp area where they and a studio where they record all their tracks. They just thought it would just bring things more alive, as they did here. Huge hit to Carry On Wayward Son, written as a sequel to The Pinnacle, which he wrote on The Mask. Pinnacle is a great track as well. The Wall, one of my favorites from the band. Miracles Out of Nowhere. It's such a great album. Such a great album. Oh my Lord. Sorry about that. Point of No Return, the fifth album by Kansas, 1977 release. One of my favorites. Again, these three albums are just outstanding. Steve Walsh would leave the band during the recording of this album. He had kind of a prima donna attitude. He thought he'd do better as a solo artist. Kind of interesting. Dust in the Wind became a huge hit, but it started out as a finger exercise that Kerry Livgren would practice on his guitar. His wife Vicky heard it. She said, "Oh, that would make a great track." He was afraid to take it to the band because it was kind of a soft track, but they loved it and it became one of their biggest hits. Amazing. Amazing how a song can build into that. I love the title track. The Portrait He Knew is amazing. It's about Albert Einstein. Closet Chronicles is about Howard Hughes. Great lyrics, awesome musicianship. An essential album. These three albums are essential to anyone's collection, for sure. For sure. Their follow-up, Monolith, the sixth album by the band. On its own, a fantastic album, but it can't match the success of the previous two albums. It wouldn't be as commercially successful. But on its own, as I said, I love it. I love the cover as well. It's so good. You got People of the South Wind, Reason to Be, The Other Side, On the Other Side, and Away From You. It still went platinum in the 90s, so it was still a decent album. And you've got On the Other Side, People of the South Wind, Angels Have Fallen, and Now My Soul Cries Out For You, Glimpse of Home, Away From You, Stay Out of Trouble, and Reason to Be. Produced by the band. It's a great album. I don't have Audio Visions, their seventh album, 1980. This is where the band started to go off in a different direction. Kerry Livgren converted to Christianity, so you can hear some of that in their lyrics. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just a complete change to what the band was. I also don't have Vinyl Confessions, their eighth album, 1982 release. Includes Play the Game Tonight, which became their third highest charting single, but also a major turning point for the band. Kerry Livgren, Dave Hope, the bassist, would also convert to Christianity. And Steve Walsh didn't agree to that, and he actually left the band and formed his own band, Streets. Then you have probably their worst album cover in Drastic Measures. It's terrible. It's terrible. Terrible. The ninth album by the band, 1983 release. Robbie Steinhardt would leave the band after this one because he didn't agree to the new way the band was going. He quit the band after the 1982 tour. These freaking pop-ups, man. Vinyl Confessions became a big hit between the mainstream audiences and the Christian audiences, but the album itself was too repetitive. It sounds more like Loverboy or Foreigner, and Kerry Livgren wasn't happy about that. Had a new lead singer in John Alfontes. Kerry Livgren only wrote 3 tracks on this one. As I said, a terrible album cover. It confused a lot of fans. It confused their longtime regular fans. It confused their Christian fans. They didn't know where to take this album. I have it. I don't play it. They kind of went back to form in this one. Power, which is a great album. I feel it's a great album. New guitarist and Steve Walsh on this one. Say Steve Walsh. Steve Morse. Steve Morse, who, of course, has played with so many bands. The 10th album, 1986 release. You got Phil Ihart on drums, Rich Williams on guitar and backing vocals, Steve Walsh on lead vocals, Steve Morris on guitar, and Billy Greer on bass. So Steve Walsh is back in the band after this one. Again, a different direction for the band, but a decent album. More hard rock and pop than progressive rock on this one. Probably because of the influence of perhaps Steve Morris in this one. I don't know. But it's a great album. It's a great album. Then you have In the Spirit of Things, the 11th album. Sorry for the glare. This is a concept album. One of their first concept albums. Telling the story of a flood hitting the real Kansas city of Neosho Falls in 1951. But it didn't produce a single. But it's one of the band's more consistent albums. I think it's a great album. You get Stand Beside Me, I Counted on Love, just 2 singles off the album. They weren't hits, but they were great tracks. But I'm happy to have this one. And I think this is it's got a German sticker on this. I don't know if that means a thing. But yeah, Baden, Germany. Cool stuff. But great album. I'm missing their next 5 albums. Freaks of Nature, the 12th album, 1995 release. Always Never the Same, the 13th album, 1998 release. Somewhere to Elsewhere, the 14th album, 2000 release. The Prelude Implicate, the 15th album, 2016 release. The Absence of Presence, the 16th album, and the last album, studio album by the band Kansas. I do have a great live album, 2 for the show. The first live album, 1978 release. This is an amazing album. Yeah, so good. And I also have 50 Years of Kansas, a retrospective 2022 release. 3 CDs, 13, 26, 49 tracks on this one. There's the track listing in there. Nice. So anything you want to hear about Kansas or from Kansas is on this one. And I'm happy to have this one in my collection for sure. So there's my look at Kansas. Hope you enjoyed. If you don't know Kansas, definitely check them out. If you do know Kansas, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts on are of the band. And have yourself a great rest of the day. Love you all. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.